Okay, so we've all probably learned by now that light always travels at a fixed velocity, and that the velocity is approximately 186,000 miles per second. We've also probably all heard that this is a limit on the velocity any object may travel. In case it's not understood why this is, I'll explain it briefly. The conventional scientific explanation is that an object's mass increases as the object's velocity increases. Now, if we refer to Newton's laws of motions or common sense, we will see that in order to accelerate an object to a higher velocity, we must have to apply energy, which is force applied over time. The equation for this is force equals mass times acceleration. So in order to get a given acceleration, we have to divide force by mass. Thusly, force divided by mass equals acceleration. But when I learned that our mass changed as our velocity changed, it really got me curious about what is mass. So physics answers this by saying it's an intrinsic property to matter that defines what is a physical object. But that's not really an answer, is it? It took me another 20 years to finally get a real answer. And it wasn't until after a spiritual awakening and expansion of consciousness, which led to the recognition that truly we are made of light and truly non-physical beings. After experiencing non-physicality, it occurred to me then we only appear to have mass in the physical body or in the third dimension. Because even in the fourth dimensional astral body, we are unencumbered by mass, meaning we can go as fast as we want. So now I will explain more about the mechanics of all this later, but for now, you should be able to see how knowing that everything is truly light and that darkness is only created by interference of light with light, as I've explained before. So that has led me to the conclusion that mass is produced in the same way by the entanglement of light with light. And so to decrease our mass, we must become less physical or detach from the entanglement of our light body. And if at each incremental increase in velocity, we are increasing our mass, we then need a greater and greater force to get a smaller and smaller acceleration. So that anywhere near the speed of light, any object with mass would require a near infinite amount of energy to increase velocity. However, when I first learned this, I was 18, and at that time my understanding of mass was A, how much stuff we were made of and how dense it was, and B, kind of how much we weighed, because I learned our weight changed in different gravity fields. Two examples that you can visualize to understand the creation of time and our travel through it and space. First, the way I see the creation of the fourth dimension is that, again, if you picture a field of infinite light, now you can imagine within that field a rotating sphere of light made simply by circulating our own internal energies. So that within this sphere, as the velocity of rotation increased, it would appear to create a separate area, and much of the energy would be pulled into the inertia or rotation of the other energies circulating, creating an apparent void or area of darkness within the light sphere. So now if we understand that this sphere is hyperbolic, and this comes from fourth dimensional geometry, meaning it grows exponentially as you move out from center. This causes all apparent straight lines, even one that you could imagine within the sphere, to actually curve. So now if you picture yourself as a beam of light moving through a hyperbolic sphere that often leads back the way it came, you will begin to understand our cyclical movement through the astral, that we call life, death, and reincarnation. Let me just add something here. So part of the part of my understanding of all of this, if you think about light wanting to travel, like if you think about your light body wanting to travel, say, to another planet, like to Venus, okay? Now, the normal light body would be completely unencumbered to do this. And I didn't explain this before, but from the perspective of the traveler, of the light body itself, even though we say light travels at 186,000 miles per second, right? But from light's perspective, it is traveling infinitely fast because time slows down as the velocity increases. So traveling at the speed of light, no time would be perceived. Therefore, from its perspective, it is traveling infinitely fast. So instantaneously, from its perception, it would be in Venus. However, from the egoic perspective, which holds to a particular image and density of itself, in the same way that I often say, it is the belief in the past memories and perceptions as being real within the ego that binds it to a particular future instead of having infinite potentials. So in that same way, the distortions of one's light body that are created from egoic third density existence encumber one from its travel at light speed, creating density.